Alina walked through the school hallway with her head down. Her backpack was too big for her small shoulders. Her shoes made soft sounds on the shiny floor. Nobody looked at her. Nobody said hi. She was like a shadow in a bright place. It was her third day at the new school. She had already learned one thing. Stay quiet. Stay out of trouble. She didn't try to make friends. She didn't talk much. She just watched. Her clothes were plain. Her hair was always tied back. She always sat alone at lunch, eating slowly and quietly. Some students whispered about her. Who is she? She never talks. Probably has no friends. And maybe they were right. Alina didn't laugh like the others. She didn't wear makeup. She didn't show off her phone. And most of all, she never spoke about her family. One girl noticed this more than anyone. Madison. Madison was popular. She had a loud voice, a new hairstyle every week, and a group of friends who followed her like shadows. When Madison walked into a room, people looked. She liked being in charge. So when she saw Alina, quiet, different, and not afraid of her, she didn't like it. At first, it was just small things. Madison would laugh loudly when Alina walked by. She'd whisper to her friends and stare at her. Then it got worse. One day in the cafeteria, Madison walked past Alina's table and accidentally knocked over her juice. "Oh no," she said with fake concern. "I hope your poor little book didn't get wet." Her friends laughed. Alina stayed silent. She picked up her book and wiped it with a napkin. She didn't even look at Madison. Too scared to talk. Madison smirked. "Or do you just not speak English?" Alina didn't answer. She just stared at the orange juice soaking into her notebook. At home, things were different. The house was small and quiet. Her dad, Mr. Cole, was always calm. He didn't smile much. He didn't talk much either. But he noticed everything. That night, he saw the juice stains on Alina's notebook. "What happened?" he asked softly. "Nothing," Alina said. He looked at her for a moment. Her eyes were tired. Her voice was flat. He didn't push. He just nodded and walked into the garage. Alina watched him from the kitchen window. He was fixing something. Again, her dad always fixed things. Quietly. With care. But sometimes she caught him doing strange things. Cleaning gear that looked old. Talking to someone in the basement. Sharpening a knife that didn't belong in the kitchen. She didn't ask, and he didn't explain. The next day at school, Madison was waiting. "Hey, ghost girl," she said, blocking Alina's way. "Tell me something. Are you poor or just weird?" Alina didn't answer. She tried to walk past. Madison stuck out her foot and tripped her. Alina fell hard. Her books flew out of her hands. Students nearby laughed. A few watched in silence. Madison leaned down and whispered, "Maybe if you beg, I'll stop." Alina looked up slowly. And for the first time, she spoke. "You don't want to meet my dad." Her voice was calm. Her eyes steady. Madison blinked. She didn't expect that. "What's that supposed to mean?" She laughed nervously. "Is he gonna cry too?" But something in Alina's eyes made her pause. Just for a second. Alina stood up, picked up her books, and walked away. At home that evening, Mr. Cole was silent as usual. He sat at the kitchen table, drinking black coffee. Alina came in quietly, placed her torn book on the table, and walked to her room. Mr. Cole stared at the book. He opened it. Inside was a drawing of a girl standing alone, surrounded by shadows with laughing faces. He didn't say a word. That night, in the garage, Mr. Cole opened a locked box. Inside was an old photo, a young soldier in a faraway land, holding a long rifle. Next to it, a medal. And under it, a card with his old name. Cole, A. Special Recon Sniper, distance certified. 3.1 miles. He closed the box. His hands were steady. His mind was quiet. But something deep inside him had started to wake up. And if anyone ever hurt his daughter again, They would learn who he really was. Alina didn't speak much at school, but she spoke even less at home. Dinner at the Cole house was always quiet. No music, no TV, just the sound of forks tapping on plates. Her dad, Mr. Cole, sat straight at the table. He chewed slowly. His eyes didn't blink much. Even in silence, he watched everything. "School okay?" he asked one night, not looking up from his plate. Alina nodded. "It's fine." He didn't ask more. And she didn't offer more. That's how it always was. But deep inside, both of them knew everything was not fine. At school, Madison's bullying was getting worse. In the halls, in class, even online. Alina's name started showing up in group chats with mean jokes and edited pictures. She kept her head down. She never cried in front of them. But every night, she'd stare at the ceiling and whisper to herself, "Be strong." What Madison didn't know, what no one knew, was that Alina's strength came from someone who used to be very dangerous. Someone who was trained to stay hidden and to strike without being seen. One evening, Alina stayed after school to finish a project. It was late when she got home. The lights were off. The house looked quiet from the outside. But when she walked in, she heard something strange, a soft voice from the basement. Her dad was talking to someone. She moved closer to the door and listened. "Visuals confirmed," her dad said calmly. "No action yet. Watching patterns." Then silence. Another pause. "Target is young, but the pattern matches classic predator behavior." Alina's eyes widened. Was he talking about someone at school? Was he watching? Suddenly, the basement door creaked. Alina jumped back. Mr. Cole opened the door slowly. He looked at her, no surprise in his eyes, no fear. "You're home late," he said simply. "I stayed for a school project," she said, trying to sound normal. He nodded. "Good." Then he turned and walked past her, heading to the garage. Alina stood there, heart racing. She had so many questions, but she didn't ask. She never did. That weekend, while her dad was out, Alina found herself staring at the locked cabinet in the garage. She had always been told not to touch it. But something in her was curious now. Afraid, but curious. She walked over, checked to make sure he wasn't coming, and gently pulled the drawer. To her surprise, it wasn't locked. Inside, there were a few strange items: black gloves, a folded scarf, old maps, and a photo. She picked up the photo. It showed her father in a desert. His face was covered with paint. He wore a uniform, but no name was visible. He held a long weapon, a sniper rifle. His eyes were cold, focused, a shadow of the man she knew now. On the back of the photo was a short note, written in rough handwriting. "One shot, one ghost." She placed everything back and shut the drawer quickly. Her heart was pounding again. That night, she couldn't sleep. So she asked something she had never dared to before. "Dad, were you in the army?" He looked up from his coffee. "Something like that," he said. "What did you do?" He stared at her for a long moment. The silence was heavy. Then he spoke. "I stopped bad people. From very far away." Alina's hands shook a little. "Did you ever miss?" "No," he said softly. "I couldn't afford to." She was quiet. Then she asked, "Do you miss it?" "No," he said, "but I remember every moment." And then he added something that made her skin crawl. "The world doesn't know how close it comes to danger every day, until someone pulls a trigger." The next morning, Alina saw something strange on the school bulletin board. A new notice. Due to safety concerns, all students must be escorted to the gate after hours. Whispers flew around the school. Someone's parent threatened a teacher. No, it was a stranger on campus. Someone saw a man on the roof yesterday. Alina didn't say anything, but she had a feeling. She knew who it was. That evening, Madison's friend posted something on social media. A photo. It showed Madison walking near the school, but in the background, hidden in the bushes, was a blurry figure. A man. The post said, "Creepy guy watching school. FBI stuff." The image spread fast. Students joked, teachers panicked, and parents demanded answers. But Mr. Cole said nothing. He sat on the couch at home, polishing a small metal object, a scope, the kind snipers use to see far, far away. Alina looked at him and finally asked, "Why do you still have your gear?" His reply was quiet. Some ghosts don't rest until their mission is done. Alina didn't fully understand what her father used to be, but she was starting to understand one thing clearly. She wasn't alone. And if Madison kept pushing, the ghost in her house might finally come out of the shadows. Alina tried to stay quiet. She tried to stay invisible, but Madison wouldn't let her. It started with whispers and small laughs. Then it moved to tripping her in the hallway, spilling juice, and calling her names in front of everyone. Now it was worse. Madison had a phone, and she knew how to use it to hurt people. On Monday morning, Alina walked into school and noticed people staring. Some laughed. Some looked shocked. A few just turned away. She didn't understand, until she sat at her desk and saw the screen of the boy next to her. It was a video. Her, sitting alone, picking up her books from the floor. Madison's voice in the background. "Here's the ghost girl again. So weird, so silent. Maybe her dad's in jail or dead." Laughter. The video had been shared in group chats. It was on TikTok. Some people had even commented, "Creepy girl alert. She probably eats lunch with ghosts. Someone give her a blanket. She looks homeless." Alina's face turned red. Her hands shook. But still, she said nothing. She got up quietly and walked out of the class. At home that evening, Mr. Cole sat in the living room with a black notebook on the table. He was drawing something. Not pictures, plans, patterns. He looked up as Alina entered. Her eyes were glassy. He noticed right away. "Phone," he said gently. She handed it to him. He opened the school app. The video was there. He watched it silently. No expression on his face. He didn't say anything. He simply closed the app and handed it back. Alina waited. She expected him to shout, to ask questions, to get angry. But all he said was, "Go get some rest." That night, Mr. Cole opened the metal box again. He took out a small earpiece and placed it in his ear. Then, in a deep voice, he spoke. "Operation Guardian. Passive mode. Surveillance only." A few seconds later, a reply came through. "Confirmed. Tracker active. New coordinates uploaded. Proceed carefully." Mr. Cole stood up, opened a drawer under the cabinet, and took out a small black bag. Then he disappeared into the night. The next day, Madison had a new plan. This time, she wasn't going to just mock Alina. She wanted to break her. She found out what class Alina had in the computer lab. She and her friends entered the room early and changed the background of every screen. All of them now showed the video of Alina. When Alina walked in and saw it, she stopped. The room was filled with laughter. Even the teacher seemed confused. "Someone turned this off," he said. But it was too late. Alina stared at the screen, her own face frozen in embarrassment. And then she turned slowly and looked at Madison. Their eyes met for the first time. Madison smiled. "Smile, ghost girl," she whispered. "You're famous now." That night, Alina sat at the table, holding her spoon but not eating. Her dad sat across from her, still, watching. She finally spoke. "She won't stop." Mr. Cole said nothing. "I don't know what to do," she added. He nodded. Then he said, very quietly, "You let me worry about that." The next morning, Madison woke up and found a small envelope on her porch. No name, no return address. Inside was a photo, a single blurry image of her, standing at the mall the day before, looking at her phone. The picture was taken from high up, far away, through a scope. There was one sentence written on the back. "You never see the first shot." Madison dropped the envelope and backed away from the door. She didn't tell anyone. But at school, she was quieter. For a day. Then came Friday. And everything changed. Madison stood in front of the school assembly. She was chosen to give a short speech. She walked up to the microphone, looked at the crowd, and smiled. But when she looked down at her notes, they were gone. In their place was something else. A printed photo. Her. The envelope. The note. She froze. Suddenly, her smile dropped. Whispers started. Students began to notice. Alina was standing in the back of the room, watching calmly. Madison stepped back from the mic and left the stage. She didn't say a word. After school, Madison walked fast toward the gate. She looked behind her, nervous. That's when she saw a man leaning against a black car, wearing a gray hoodie. He was still, not moving, but watching. Their eyes met. She quickly turned and walked the other way. She didn't know who he was, but Alina did. That night, Mr. Cole sat on the porch. Alina walked out and sat next to him. "Did you scare her?" Mr. Cole didn't answer. He just said, "I gave her a chance to stop." Alina looked up at the stars. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring. But one thing was sure. The bully had no idea who she was messing with. Not yet. By now, Madison had stopped making jokes. She had stopped laughing at Alina, stopped whispering in the halls, stopped looking so confident. Something had changed, but nobody knew why. Only one girl in the school understood what was happening, Alina. And even she didn't understand everything. Not yet. Mr. Cole was a mystery, even to his own daughter. He didn't talk much. He didn't go out. He didn't have friends over. He never even went to school meetings or sports games. To everyone else, he looked like just another quiet, tired dad. But Alina had started to see the cracks in that mask, the strange tools in the garage, the old photos, the earpiece, the way he moved without making a sound, and that deep, cold focus in his eyes whenever she got hurt. One rainy afternoon, Alina walked into the garage while her dad was wiping down a black metal case. "What's that?" she asked. He didn't look up. "Something I used to carry when I worked." "Where did you work?" He paused, then finally said, "Overseas, far away." "What kind of job?" There was a long silence. Then he said something she'd never forget. "I waited for hours, sometimes days. Didn't blink, didn't breathe loud, just watched. Until the moment came." Alina stared at him. "You were military." He slowly nodded. "Yes, but not the kind that wears shiny medals and shakes hands on TV." She stepped closer. "What kind then?" His voice dropped. "The kind that doesn't exist on paper. The kind who's already gone by the time the enemy hears the shot." Alina's breath caught in her throat. She had always known he was different, but not like this. That night, she searched his name online. Andrew Cole. Nothing. She tried adding military, sniper, even special forces. Still nothing. It was like he didn't exist. The next morning, when she woke up, her phone had a message from an unknown number. It said, "Stop searching. Some names stay buried for a reason." Her hands trembled. She ran into the kitchen. Her dad was drinking coffee like normal. "Did you send this?" she asked, showing him the screen. He didn't even look. "I told you, some ghosts aren't supposed to be found." At school, rumors were starting to spread. Not about Alina, but about Madison. She cried during lunch. "She's not sleeping." Her dad said someone followed her home. Nobody said it out loud, but they all noticed something was off. And some kids had started asking, "Who is Alina's dad?" In history class, the teacher gave an assignment. Interview someone in your family about their past. Alina didn't want to ask. She thought her dad would say no. But to her surprise, he agreed. Okay, he said. They sat on the porch that evening. The wind was cool, and the sky was quiet. Alina pressed record on her phone. What was your job? She asked. I was a scout sniper. I moved alone. Found targets. Took them out. Why? He looked up at the sky. Because some people are monsters, and sometimes only a ghost can stop a monster. Alina swallowed. Did you ever get scared? He nodded. Always, but fear keeps you sharp. Did you ever miss? He looked directly at her. Never. She stopped the recording. Then, for the first time, he told her something he had never shared. Once, he said, I stopped a bomb from reaching a village. It was in a truck, driving fast. I was 2 miles away. Her eyes widened. You hit the truck? No, he said. I hit the driver. Through the windshield. At night. In the rain. She sat back in silence. How come no one knows? No medals? No stories. He smiled a sad smile. Because heroes get remembered. Ghosts get erased. Later that night, she found something new in the garage. A folded uniform. No name tag. No flag. Just a patch with a number. 29. Underneath it was a small metal coin, black and gold. It had no writing. Only a symbol. A skull with wings. When she showed it to her dad, he took it gently. This is the only proof I ever existed in that world. What does it mean? She asked. He paused. It means the last thing someone sees is nothing. Back at school, something strange happened. One of Madison's close friends, Jenna, approached Alina in the hallway. Hey, she said awkwardly. Alina looked up. I think Madison's losing it, Jenna whispered. She said someone's watching her. She hasn't slept in days. Alina said nothing. She thinks it's your dad, Jenna added. Still silence. Then Jenna asked, in a soft voice, is it true? Was he, like, military or something? Alina didn't blink. No, she said, then walked away. But inside, she whispered to herself, he was something much more. That night, Alina and her father sat at the kitchen table. She finally asked, if I ever told you to stop, would you? He didn't answer right away. Then he said, I don't start wars. I end them. And then he looked straight at her. But you tell me when the war is over. Alina's heart pounded. She realized something deep. Her father wasn't just protecting her. He was waiting for her command. The warning signs were all there. Madison should have stopped. But she didn't. Even with the photo. Even with the envelope. Even with her fear. Instead, she got angry. Because deep down, bullies hate losing control. And Alina, she was no longer afraid. That made Madison furious. And when angry people feel powerless, they often do the dumbest thing. They push harder. And this time, she pushed too far. It started with a stolen phone. Madison waited until Alina left her phone on the desk during gym. She grabbed it, unlocked it, and looked through it. She didn't find much. Until she opened the voice recorder. There it was, the interview, the one with Alina's dad. Mr. Cole talking about sniping, war, and stopping enemies from miles away. Madison's eyes lit up. She copied the audio file and sent it to herself. Then she deleted it from Alina's phone. That evening, Madison sat with her friend Blake at the local diner. Blake was one of those kids who thought he was smart, but always made trouble. He laughed as he listened to the voice clip. This is insane. Your school counselor hears this. They'd call the cops. Madison smirked. Exactly. Blake looked at her. You sure you want to do this? She nodded. I'm done being scared of some weird quiet girl and her ghost dad. The next morning, The school counselor's inbox had a new email. Subject: Urgent, threat to students. Attached was the audio file. No message, no name, just the sound of Mr. Cole's voice saying, "I waited for hours, didn't blink, just watched, until the moment came, and when it did, I never missed. By lunchtime, everything changed." Alina was called to the office. She sat down quietly. The counselor looked nervous. "Alina," she said gently, "can you tell me, is your father okay? Is there something going on at home?" Alina froze. "What do you mean?" "Well, we received something. An anonymous message. With a recording." Alina's heart dropped. The counselor pressed play. Mr. Cole's voice filled the room. Alina's stomach turned. She had trusted him with that moment, and someone had stolen it. After school, Alina ran home. Her dad was sitting in the living room, flipping through an old black notebook. He looked up as she entered. "They got the recording," she said. He nodded slowly. "I know. You knew." "I was listening," he replied. Alina looked shocked. "You were spying on the school." "I don't spy," he said. "I protect." Then he stood. "It's time I stop watching." That night, something unexpected happened. 3 black SUVs pulled up outside their house. Men in suits stepped out. One of them knocked on the door. Mr. Cole opened it, calm as ever. "Mr. Andrew Cole?" the man asked. "Yes. We're from Washington. We need to speak to you, privately." Alina watched from behind the curtain. Her dad didn't say a word. He nodded, stepped outside, and closed the door behind him. 30 minutes passed, then an hour. Finally, the door opened again. Mr. Cole stepped back inside. Alina rushed toward him. Who were they? He took off his jacket, hung it neatly. "They're the people who used to give me orders." She blinked. "They found you." "No," he said. "They came to ask if I was back." She stared at him. "And are you?" He looked her in the eyes. "That depends on how far this goes." At school the next day, Madison was called to the office. She walked in like nothing was wrong. But this time, there were 2 adults waiting she didn't recognize. A man and a woman in dark clothes. Government IDs. They played the recording for her, then asked one question. "Where did this come from?" Madison stuttered, sweated, denied it. But they already knew. They had traced the file. They knew the email it came from. They even had the diner's security footage. Madison's mouth went dry. She left the office crying. When Alina walked out of class that day, something strange happened. People moved out of her way. Not out of fear. Out of respect. For the first time, no one whispered. No one laughed. No one looked at her like she was strange. They looked at her like someone who had just survived a storm. That night, Mr. Cole sat with his daughter at the dinner table. Alina finally asked, "Are you going to disappear again?" He shook his head. "Not unless you tell me to." Then he said something even stranger. "They offered me something. A return. A mission." Alina's eyes widened. "You said you were done." "I was," he replied, "until someone threatened my daughter." She looked down. "I didn't mean for all this to happen." He reached across the table and gently held her hand. "I did. But even with Madison scared, even with the government involved, even with the truth exposed, Mr. Cole knew something most people didn't. The most dangerous enemy isn't the one who shouts. It's the one who waits. And there was still one move left on the board. In a quiet room, someone else was watching. A figure in a military base. A name on a screen. Cole, Andrew. Status: former operative. Tier 0. Decided. Reactivated. Standby. The war wasn't over yet. For the first time since Alina arrived at the school, things were calm. Madison had vanished from the hallways. No more whispers. No more cruel jokes. No more trips or torn notebooks. But calm didn't mean safe. Because when the surface is quiet, that's usually when the deep water is moving. And Mr. Cole knew that better than anyone. He was up early that day, before sunrise, wearing black, lacing up boots he hadn't touched in years. Alina found him in the kitchen, checking a strange device that looked like a phone, but wasn't. "Where are you going?" she asked. He looked at her carefully. "I have one last thing to finish." "Is it dangerous?" He nodded once. "Only if I fail." Alina's hands trembled. "Can I come?" He shook his head. "You already came too far." She tried to speak, but he held up a hand. Then he walked over and placed something in her palm. A small folded card. "What is it?" she asked. "Proof," he said, "of what I really am." Then he smiled. "Just barely. And in case I don't come back, you show this to the right people. They'll listen to you." She looked down at the card. No name. Just a silver mark in the shape of a winged skull. Mr. Cole drove through the back roads, past farmland and forests, to a place not shown on maps. A fence, a gate, no signs. But someone opened it the moment he arrived. Inside was a man waiting in a long coat. "Cole," the man said, nodding. "You're late." Mr. Cole didn't blink. "I'm not here for your timelines." They walked in silence through a long tunnel. Lights hummed. Cameras followed. Finally, they entered a dark room with screens showing faces, maps, and red alerts. The man spoke. "Your file scared some people, you know. You weren't supposed to come back." Mr. Cole sat. "I didn't. I'm here to erase one last threat." "Madison?" the man asked. Cole shook his head. "No, she was just a pawn." He tapped on the screen. "This is the player." Back in school, Alina was quiet, but something inside her had changed. She stood taller, spoke louder, looked people in the eye. Some students started eating lunch near her. A few even said hi. And while Alina didn't want to be popular, she was finally seen. Madison returned a few days later, but she wasn't the same. No makeup, no laughter, eyes always moving. She walked up to Alina in the hallway. People stopped to watch. Madison looked down, her voice small. "I'm sorry." Alina said nothing. She didn't need to. Madison walked away, and for the first time, she looked like the one who didn't belong. Meanwhile, Mr. Cole was still gone. Day turned to night. Then another day passed. Alina checked her window every hour. No car, no message, nothing. Until finally, a knock on the door. Alina opened it slowly. There he was, tired, a little bruised, but standing tall. She rushed into his arms. "What happened?" she whispered. He hugged her tight. "Nothing you need to worry about anymore." Then he leaned in and whispered something only she could hear. "The ones behind her, they won't try again." Alina pulled back. "Did you hurt them?" He shook his head. "Worse. I showed them what happens when ghosts leave shadows." That night, Alina opened the card he had given her. Inside was a small chip and a note. "To be opened if I vanish. It holds my real story. Use it only when the world needs to remember that quiet people can be dangerous too." Later that week, the school held a special assembly. The principal made an announcement. "There are students among us who face bullying, who feel alone, but sometimes those students are stronger than anyone realizes." Then she looked at Alina. "And sometimes they come from families who've given everything to protect people like us." The entire room turned. Alina stood up slowly. And for the first time, everyone clapped. Not because they feared her, but because they respected her. It started with one post. Just one. Alina didn't plan it. She didn't want attention. But sometimes the truth refuses to stay hidden. She sat in her room one night, holding the small card her dad had given her. The one with the strange silver symbol. The one that held a secret chip inside. For days, she stared at it. Should she open it? Should she tell someone? Then she remembered his words. Use it only when the world needs to remember that quiet people can be dangerous too. And maybe, just maybe, the world was ready. She plugged the chip into her computer. It opened a folder. Inside, videos, photos, missions, letters marked top secret, footage from war zones that looked like movies, but weren't. In one clip, her dad was in full gear. Face covered, voice calm. His target was nearly 2 miles away, a terrorist leader hiding behind civilians. But Mr. Cole didn't shoot immediately. He waited and waited. Then finally, the man stepped into the open. One shot. Clean. No one else hurt. The clip ended. Alina's hands were shaking. She clicked on one last file. A letter. To my daughter. If you're reading this, then the world has tested you. I didn't train you with weapons. I trained you with silence, with patience, with heart, with the power to walk away until it's time to stand. If they doubt you, let them see me. Tears filled her eyes. Then she did something brave. She posted a 2-minute clip online. No music, no drama, just her voice and her father's face. I didn't speak up. I didn't fight back because I didn't need to. My dad taught me that silence isn't weakness, it's control. But now I want you to know who he really is. Then the clip played. Mr. Cole, quiet, calm, deadly precise. When it ended, she said just one thing. You mocked the quiet girl, but you never knew who protected her. She clicked POst, and everything changed. Within an hour, it had 10,000 views. By morning, 1.2 million. News outlets called. Journalists knocked on her door. People begged for interviews. Headlines appeared. Ghost Sniper, the quiet hero who raised a daughter in silence. Teen's secret reveals Shadow Warrior's past. From bullied to brave, how one girl's father shook the internet. And through it all, Alina stayed calm. She didn't smile much, didn't try to be famous. She just told the truth. At school, everything was different. She wasn't just that quiet girl anymore. She was the one who stood tall, even when they tried to crush her. Some students whispered still. But this time, it wasn't about her clothes or her silence. It was about respect. Even the teachers looked at her differently. She had changed everything, without raising her voice. As for Madison, she left school before the month ended. Some said her parents mocked her. Others said she just couldn't face it anymore. No one knew for sure. And honestly, no one really cared. Because the story wasn't about her anymore. It never really was. One evening, as Alina walked home, a man stepped out of a black car. Not her dad. Someone in uniform, a military badge on his chest. Alina Cole. She stopped. Yes. He handed her a sealed letter. This is from the director. The highest level. For your father. But he doesn't like being found. The man nodded. Which is why we came to you. She took the letter and watched the car disappear. Inside was a note. Not for the public. Not for the press. Just for one man. To the ghost who kept us safe. We don't forget our shadows. Come home when you're ready.